All right, welcome everyone to this class on Pirke Avos, ethics of our fathers, as is known. Again, I want to welcome everyone. Class on Pirke Avos, ethics of our fathers. This is actually chapter 2, Mishna 13, part 18, and it's probably going to be part 19, probably a part 20 also as we work our way through here. So again, what does the Mishnah say? The Mishnah says that he said, go out, discern what's the proper way, which a person should cling. And we're holding by Rabbi Lezer said a good eye. Rabbi Yeshua said a good friend. Rabbi Yosef said a good neighbor. Rabbi Shimon says one who considers the outcome of a deed, right? And that's exactly what we're holding. So again, we spoke last week about this idea, of thinking, about repercussions, thinking about where our actions go, where possibly, they could go. If a person says something, is it offensive? Could it be offensive? How could someone take it? There are a lot of potential issues of anything that we say and anything that we do. So comes along Rabbeinu Yonah, blessed memory, Rabbeinu Yonah of Gerondi. It's commentary on Pirke Avos. So Rabbeinu Yonah says, person, again, anything they do, right? That means everything we do should be calculated, that we should think about. We should think about potential, repercussions, what the outcome is going to be of what we do. So he said, you got to think, says Rabbeinu Yonah, you got to think about all the possibilities, all the potential things that could happen. And you have to try and be able to see things before they happen. Now, you're going to say, come on, before I do anything, I have to sit there for hours, thinking, okay, if I say this, if I do that. Again, we're not necessarily talking hours, but a person should think. They should calculate what they do. Not everything should be a knee-jerk reaction, just say something, or act in a certain way. Sometimes we do. Sometimes something will happen, totally out of our control. And what do? We react. We don't think, we react. So he says, you got to think before you do something. You got to think possibilities. What could happen? Right? Then figure out, what you'll say, maybe what someone will say back. What could you say after that? Again, there are certain things, I would say probably a lot of things that, could happen that we wouldn't think of. We wouldn't necessarily think of. Or Rabbeinu Yonah says, you should think about all the possibilities, potential possibilities, what could happen. And try and see them before they happen. In other words, you make calculations. You think, if I do this, this could happen. If I say this, that, how's the other person going to react? How, a lot of things over here. So if a person sees something, let's say a person sees something that has merit. At the beginning, it has merit. And in the end, it'll bring them to a loss. So let's say at the beginning, you think it's going to be a good thing. Maybe it's going to be a good thing at the beginning. Okay. But what if in the end, it's going to bring them a loss? Then they should stay away from it. Right? Keep them away from sin. Now, this is where, right? What's the obvious case? The obvious case is, this is where a person knows what the end result's going to be. You know the end result. So if you know the end result, and you know the end result's going to bring you to a loss. But in the beginning, it won't. Right? In the beginning, it seems everything's good. But you know for sure the end, what the end's going to bring. Therefore, I stay away from it. Because even though it's good at the beginning, so what? Now, what's the obvious question? What's the obvious question in this case? What if you don't know? What you don't know, you don't know. Right? Person has to think about what potential possibilities there are, what potential repercussions there are. But you'll say, well, what if I thought about it for a little bit and something happened I didn't think of? Okay, can happen, probably happens a lot, right? But it certainly can happen. So you have to know how to react, even at a split second. Even if it's hard, person has to be prepared. And if a person knows somebody could say something that'll trigger bad memories, that'll get them upset, so now you're going to work at how you're going to react. If a person would say, give an example, person would say, if I breathe on your food, they're going to make fun of you for keeping kosher, let's say. So they say, I breathe on your food, doesn't mean it's not kosher. That's obnoxious. So what do you answer? If you're ever in that situation, say, no, food has bad breath on it. That's it. But you can think of a lot of other things. Tell the person off. Why are you making fun of me? Keep your big mouth shut. I don't care what you have to say. You can say a lot of things. But you want to know how to react. But what's the problem? What's the obvious problem? Obvious problem is we get upset. They get under our skin. So who says you have to let them under your skin? In other words, you got to be prepared what someone might say. And even if because I know someone's going to say, yeah, but it's obnoxious. Yeah, it's below the belt. Yeah, it's this, it's that. Okay, maybe true. It may very well be true. So at that point, what happens? You get upset. And when a person gets upset, Gemara says, person gets angry, what happens? Even if the pit of hell is below them, they're not going to change. Why aren't they going to change? They're not going to change because they're too upset. They lose their self. So you're going to say, well, there are different levels of anger. Could be. Anger is bad across the board. That there's no question. So you're going to say, more anger is worse than a little bit of anger. Okay, we can bring different levels. Bring different levels over here. But what does anger do, essentially? It makes you forget where you are. It makes you forget how to think straight. Why? Because you're thinking you're upset and you're hurt and people made fun of you and people said things. So that's true, right? Let's say 100% true. But again, we have to see the bigger picture, as we always say. Got to see that bigger picture. It's a test, right? They're trying to get under your skin. They're trying to, talking earlier, one of my meals about, someone will say something and you didn't even say anything. They don't like the fact of what you represent. What we call the pintali, the spark, that spark, of a Jew. Meaning, I gave an example, either when I was first engaged or first married, somebody says, I'm offended by the way you dress. So I'm like, or are you offended by the way I dress? So I said, I wear a white shirt, black pants with or without pinstripes, dark gray, dark blue, that's the uniform, whatever it is. I wear a hat, I wear a yarmulke, I wear tzitzis, okay? And I wear a suit. So we don't differ that much. You might wear, you also might wear a suit, at least for work. Maybe not a white shirt, okay, whatever. So I asked this person, prominent doctor in their community, mentioned the story before, it's always good to repeat. So I said, if I were to shave my head, have all kinds of body piercings all over my body, and I would, I'd smoke pot and I would, sit on your roof and play the guitar all day. Would that bother you? The person sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, you got to be crazy. I got body piercings all over my body. My head is shaved, right? I'm smoking pot all day long. It doesn't bother you. The person still thinking that's insane, right? So a person would say, oh, you don't think I'm Jewish. You didn't, again, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is dress the part. You dress the part the way an Orthodox Jew should look. People get offended, Jews. Non-Jews may also get offended, but, not the same level. Why? Why would a Jew get offended? You didn't say anything. You didn't say one thing. You didn't say they're not Jewish. You didn't scream at them for desecrating Shabbos. All these things, you didn't say anything. You don't open your mouth. And they look at you and say, you don't think I'm Jewish? I didn't say anything. I didn't even roll my eyes. I didn't say anything. Why would someone get offended? Why would someone get offended? They get offended because of what's inside of them. What the spark of a Jew inside them tells them. It tells them, you think I'm doing something wrong. Yeah, 100%. I think you're doing something wrong. Very good. I didn't say it, but they know our values clash. That when they do certain things, we believe it's wrong. True. 100%. Even without saying anything. Very good. Right? So they feel inferior. And they feel, oh, you don't respect me. Again, if a person wants me to say, I think you as a Jew eating shrimp and desecrating Shabbos is okay, that's never going to happen. 100%, that'll never happen. So you're not going to get what you want. You're not going to get me to say the marriage is okay. Right? So someone could say all kinds of things. And what my Rebbe say, go eat kugel. You don't like it. Okay, that's what the Torah says. The Torah's anti-pig, anti-shrimp, anti-non-Jews. Okay. But I'm saying in a case where you didn't say anything. You don't say anything, people have a chip on their shoulder. Oh, you don't think I'm Jewish? Is your mother Jewish? Yeah, then you're Jewish. I didn't say anything about if that's great Shabbos, you lose your status, you have to repent. Didn't say anything. Right? But they feel inferior. Why do they feel inferior? Well, sorry, let's say better. Why do they feel they're being judged? Because of the way you look. Because of what you represent. Even if you don't open up your mouth. You're going to say that's crazy. It's not so crazy. Why? Because secular Jews want to be accepted. They want to be accepted for what they do, no question. They don't want anyone judging them. They don't want anyone telling them what to do. Us right-wing backwards, people who still think God spoke to Jewish people. They don't want to hear it. Oh, you think I'm living in sin? You asking me? You think you're right. That's what I think. So get over it. Move on. Why does it bother them? Right? That's the question. Why does it bother them? Because everyone else, like in the book of Esther, everyone bowed down to Haman, Mr. Haman himself, everybody, except one person. Except Mordechai Yehud. Except Mordechai the Jew. And he got so upset, he's not going to kill you. He's not going to kill all your people. But he had power, fame. Everybody worshipped him. Walked in the room, everyone on the floor. Walked out of the room, came back in the room, everybody on the floor had to bow to him. He had power, real power. Extremely wealthy. Why did he get so upset? Why did he get so upset over it? Because he knows the truth. He knows what the truth is. And the truth is, it's not a God. With all the power and everything else, he wants to be acknowledged. But if someone doesn't acknowledge, what's life worth? Why would I be living? What's the point? This person doesn't acknowledge me. So, That's 1 out of a billion. Everyone else does. So that person knows, right? Hama knows. He knows what the truth is. So secular Jews also, they may think we're crazy, we're outdated, we're this, we're that. They know deep down without anyone telling them. They know we think they're wrong. They know we think they're backwards and that they're going to get punished and God's going to take care of them. They can think we're crazy, we're nuts, we're everything combined. 100%. They can think we're totally nuts. Okay? But bothers them to no end. Some people, they'll say you can think what you want, I don't care. Okay. But see, when they say they don't care, or they say we can agree to disagree, they're not saying it with a straight face. They're a little bit upset. Because you don't agree with them. You don't value their values. So let's flip the script over here. Do they value our values? No. Do they make fun of our values? Yes. Most of the time, probably. You say one thing, that you can't say that. You don't have a right to say that. They can say whatever they want. 100%, they can say whatever they want. We stick up for our values. We got slaughtered. Leave your mind open till your brains fall on the floor. But to say what we believe, it goes against their agenda. I mean, I give 1,000 examples. Thousands of examples. I could be here till tomorrow. Till I gotta be here all week if I could stay up. Wouldn't be hard. Great rabbi here in Israel condemned the speaker of the Knesset, which I spoke about on Thursday. As a homosexual. And he got condemned. What happened to freedom of speech? What happened to freedom of religion? Bible says it's forbidden, right? You can't brown nose. Can't suck up to these people. Like, oh, you're fanatics to this. We don't have opinions? You want to disagree? Okay. To each their own. That's not what happens. Right? Rav Yosef, a blessed memory, used to give a live class on the radio every Saturday night. And he would say things that, people would get ticked off about. Because the truth is hard to hear. They wanted to say times that you put him in jail for some of the things he said, blaspheme against secular people, this, that. And what does the secular media do against us? What do they do against us? Try and destroy us. Say we don't share the burden, we don't do this, we don't do that. The Holy New York Times is making a major war, against yeshivas and how they don't teach them, and they're this and they're that, and they're making a whole war. What happened to live and let live? It's like, no, we have a right. They're getting all this money, public money, and this and that. So they got an agenda. But for you to come out and say it's wrong, that you're not allowed to do. But for them to say anything about you, they have a right. It's like if a person was debating someone else. They say, you can say whatever you want. I'm not going to listen. I'm going to ram my opinion down your throat. You're going to say, okay, why am I going to talk to the wall? Well, it's a waste of time to speak to the wall, isn't it? Yeah. But that's what it is. That's what it is. Person's opinion is not valid. You know why it's not valid? It's not valid because he believes what the Torah says. That's backwards. That's being brainwashed. But everyone else can say whatever they want. They can make fun of us, call us cockroaches, this, sponges, all kinds of things. No repercussions for that. They want to, give another example. The Chiefs Party, rabbi here in Israel, Rabbi Yosef, son of Rav Avadja, blessed memory. And he came out and said, like, all these Russians came into Israel, non-Jews. Right? Vast majority are non-Jews. Right? So they wanted to put him in jail, blasphemy. How could you say that? Sacrilege goes against everything. There's all kinds of things. He says, what are you complaining about? I got this information from the Jerusalem Bureau of Statistics. It's your own institution. And sitting there, I should be taken down from my job because that's blasphemy against the government. These are your own statistics. Why do you have a right to say anything? Go look it up. All right, you think I'm blowing smoke? Look it up. See if it's true. For countless examples. You don't have a right to say anything. You have to hold two hands behind your back, and everyone else can say whatever they want. Doesn't sound like being open-minded. Now, if you claim not to be open-minded, very good. Then I won't have an issue. Then, I don't claim to be open-minded. The Torah is not open-minded. The Torah says what God wants it to say. He gave it over to Moses, gave it over to the prophets, to get the message out. As we said, you don't like it, you can go eat kugel. That's the way it is. They're black and white. No, it's anti this, anti that. Okay, bring me proof it's not true. Bring me proof God didn't speak at Mount Sinai. You want to hear proof? You got plenty of proof. You want to hear information? No. How many people you come in contact like this? I got a lot of people come in contact with it. You want to hear about it? No. Give me the short version. Yeah. I can watch the hair. I don't have my head grow. Come on. That's not a way you argue. You say, I'll think what I want. You can't say anything. Okay. Why? Because your mind is closed. So just admit, when it comes to this, your mind is closed. So if they admit it, very good. But if they don't admit it, they're fraud. They're not arguing. Right? But it's not about issue. They just want to do what they want to do. That's the point. That's the point over here. Right? So a person got to think. We said before. Person got to think, what possibilities could come up when I do this or that. But you're going to say we have an evil inclination also. So even if a person knows the right thing, knows the repercussions, knows what triggers them, we're emotional people. So even if we know the right thing to do, going out and doing it, different issue. The evil inclination can have a lot of fun over here. And say, yeah, it's a great idea. This, that, fine. What's the problem? Go do it. It's a lot easier said than done. But 95% of the game, or I would say more than that, is the fact you have to know what to do. You have to know what's permissible, what's not permissible. Stay away from things that are forbidden. Work hard to do that. Try and beat the evil inclination at its own game. But you got to be careful. You have to be careful. Persons in public, you got to get people the other way. You can't push in line. You got to be careful. You got to be careful. But you're going to say, come on. There's a limit. People annoy us. Why shouldn't I say something? I'm not saying a person necessarily can't. But you always have to be under control. And if a person's angry, and then we'll get to the first question here. If a person's angry, you're not in control. A lot of times, you're not in control. Most times, you're not in control. Right? So somebody asks, what if you're angry inside? That's worse. In different ways. Right? Can you have anger inside? Everyone will say that's not good. Why? Because you have it inside, guess what? You're just seething inside. You're just angry. It's building. And you got to think about it. The person said this, the person did that. Whatever it is, the person's burning. It's not just a little bit of anger. It just, over time, the more you think about it, the worse it gets. Until one day, you just explode. And there are people like that. Right? They'll think about it, get angrier. They don't get it out of their system. And what happens? It just explodes. That's worse. I'm not saying something happens, you just explode. Not saying that. We have to have an equilibrium, we have to be in control. It's not so easy. 100% is not so easy. Right? If you don't show it, I would say that's better, but you still have to get it out of your system. Yeah, the Rambam says, even when, let's say, you have to punish, let's say, a child, and you have to show them that they're upset. You have to show them, that you're upset. So even by showing you're upset, what do you have to do? So he says, you got to fake it. You have to fake it. First of all, you never punish while you're angry, that's for sure, because the child's not going to get the message. The punishment has to fit the crime. You can't punish a child, and give them like such a severe punishment for something that's, let's say in the bigger scheme of things, not as severe. But the punishment has to fit the crime. So the Rambam says, if you have to show anger, what do you do? Deep down, you can't be angry. You want to show anger, you have to be extremely good at being fake. In other words, you got to show fake anger. You got to show the child you're upset to a certain extent, but deep down, you don't have one upset bone in your body. So you're going to say, well, isn't that hard? Well, the Rambam says if you're going to get angry, you got to be very careful. You have to fake it. You have to fake it over here. But if you keep it within, so I would say that's better in a certain way, right? Because you're not showing it. And if a person shows anger, it's just feeding on the other person. They'll just say more things to get you more ticked off, right? So a lot of times it's better just not to say anything, which is it's hard. I'm not saying you agree over here, but saying something just adds fuel to the fire. That's all it does. Makes it worse. You're going to say, but do I have a right to be spoken to like that? No. At the same time, you say something back, what's it going to do? It'll escalate. I'm not saying you can't say it in a nice way, whatever. But yeah, I can understand things can be offensive. A person can say in a very nice way, well, what you just said, is offensive. So what do the person say? They say you're too sensitive. That's what they say. You're too sensitive. And even if you are, even if a person is more sensitive, they don't like, I don't think too many people like to be, the butt at the end of a joke over here. Maybe they'll laugh at it, but deep down they might be upset. Oh, you're too sensitive. So what? Even if a person is, doesn't that mean the other person should be more careful what they say? But see, that's an excuse. They can just say, oh, you're really that sensitive? Oh, I'm sorry for saying that. Maybe they'll say that. How have I? Right? What are they probably going to say? You're too sensitive. It's your problem. Or they can say, no, don't worry about it. I was just joking. They weren't. Remember one thing, when a person says something, even if it's what we call, quote unquote, a slip of the tongue. A slip of the tongue means, according to all definitions, you said something you didn't want to get out. In other words, you said it, you didn't mean to say it, but it came out. Now, why did it come out? Could have come out because you were angry, whatever, but it came out, and a person cannot make the excuse and say, oh, I don't think that, because they said it. Right, so we saw many moons ago in Pirke Avos, that says when a person says something, it's what's in their psyche, it's what's in their mind. Now they could say the wrong thing, they could say an offensive thing, they could say a racist thing. Right? Why do they say it? They believe it. Maybe it's very sensitive, they shouldn't say it. Well, they should be a lot more careful. Okay. There are people that are racist, they don't care, they just say what they want. Totally say what they want. But a person can never claim, and this is the problem, because a lot of people do it, but they can't make a claim and say it was a slip of the tongue. Why? Because the problem is, when a person thinks something, part of their psyche, and it's part of them. So why did they say this? Because it's deep inside them. They didn't mean it to come out. Yeah, why didn't they mean it to come out? because it's offensive what they're saying. Or, they're going too far for what they're saying. And they blurt it out. But why? They could be under the influence. They could blurt something out, not thinking. That's one thing. A second thing could be that, whatever, they're angry. Someone said something, someone did something, they go bam, and they say this, that, and the other thing. And now they regret what they said. Well, why'd you say it? The person can say, I wasn't thinking. They'll make excuses. But what's the reality? Right? What's the reality? Right? The reality is that the reality is what? That it's part of them. Totally part of them. It came out at the wrong time. Right? We use as an example, there was a basketball player last year, or a couple of years ago, maybe even, that we use as an example a lot. It was live streaming some video game and made an anti-Semitic statement. So there's a football player now since retired, not Jewish, because father's not Jewish, but maybe thinks he's Jewish. Whatever. And he's like, listen, I come to your hometown a lot. You should come to me. We'll have, Shabbat dinner together. Like, yeah, they're going to have, matzo ball soup and gefilte fish. And the person's going to say, oh, yeah, I love Jews. That's going to be the answer. It's going to solve all the problems. Right? What this idiot doesn't understand is, person made a statement. He made an absolute statement. Right? Made a statement. It makes a statement. Okay. So, you can say, oh, I didn't mean it, this, that, and the other thing. I made a statement. So eating gefilte fish and matzo ball soup is going to end the problem. That's going to take care of, his anti-Semitism. Going to say, oh yeah, I love Jews. So why do you make a statement? Why do you make an anti-Semitic statement? You say he wasn't thinking, he was in the game. Yeah, we come up with 100 excuses. What's the answer? What's the real answer? The real answer is deep inside he hates Jews. That's the real answer. That's the real answer. It's part of his psyche, and it came out in that way. He's very good at hiding it, and now it comes out. Maybe amongst his friends, he knows. Right? Sorry, they know. But it just never came out in the public. God wanted to get him. So he made him say it. He made him say it under these circumstances. But you can't say he didn't believe it. It's a slip of the tongue. No. Part of your psyche. That's what you really thought. It means you're a racist. That's what you thought. We'll bring her up anyway. We'll give her a little publicity here. Got Whoopi Goldberg said the same thing again recently about the Holocaust, which she got a lot of flack for, got suspended for a certain amount of time on this show, whatever she does. But she said the exact same thing. Yeah, she apologized. She got so much flack, she had no choice. Okay, it's one thing, you got caught saying it, you got banned, a couple of weeks, a month, whatever it was, or a couple of months, whatever it was, and her answer was, we're still going to hit, hard topics, and we're not going to be afraid, and this and that, but she made the same stupid statement again. The Holocaust is not about race. Now, I understand why she's saying it, but look at history. It's not true. Jews were killed 100% because of their race. Now, whether Jews are a race or not, we could have a discussion. Right? The issue is, you make a statement like that twice. Twice. And she got chastised all over the place. But guess what? That's what she thinks. It's not just, the slip of the tongue. And there was pushback. She didn't back down. And she never would have apologized. She didn't get suspended. You think she's taking classes about anti-Semitism? I don't think so. That's what she believes. We were not systematically wiped out or tried to be wiped out, as a race in the Holocaust. That's just not true. I mean, I think most people would understand that, unless you're a Holocaust denier. You say they went after gypsies, they went after homosexuals. Okay, also true. Not in the sheer numbers they went after Jews. Read Mein Kampf, for goodness sakes. If you read that, it's clear. Systematic wiping out of a nation. That's what it sounds like. Most people not aware, just throw this out there. What was that book based on? You know what that book was based on? Martin Luther's 95 Theses. Martin Luther, rabid anti-Semite. No question about it. I do is read some of the stuff he wrote. So Hitler, Yamach Shemoy, Vizikro, may his name be blotted out, may rot wherever he is. He had a systematic goal. You say, why are you wasting your time on this? Because that's what history says. That's what history shows. No question about it. You want to tell me about the gypsies? You want to tell me about the homosexuals and this? Okay. So he also singled them out. Very good. So what? He singled out a whole nation for extermination. I don't think people thought he'd ever do it. And they said, yeah, whatever. And then he took power and he set out to do what he set out to do. But to say that's not a systematic destruction of a nation, you're cuckoo. She wants to reinterpret history. Okay. That's what history shows. I don't think there's any question. Again, I have an idea where she's coming from and why she's going to say that, but, the facts are the facts. Facts are the facts. That's it. But you would have thought maybe she would have been more careful. But let's call a spade a spade. She said it, she believes it. That's what she believes. All right, she got censured. She got, 2 months or a month, whatever it was. She was off the show. She made an apology. Yeah, you know why she made an apology? Because they blew up her Twitter account. That's why. Does she have any remorse? Doesn't have any remorse. Some idiot like that can come say it again. So there it's clear what she stands for. What she believes, I'd say better, what she believes. Total lie. Total historical inaccuracy. Exactly what the Christians do. Manipulate verses, manipulate history. Say all kinds of things that are not true. Right, but that's part of her. That wasn't a slip of the tongue. Right? So, she'll never be able to make that claim. It's what she believes. Someone makes a statement, against Jews, that's what they believe. Not just a slip of the tongue, it's part of them. Right? So how does a person fight that? That's very hard. If a person has these tendencies to say things or whatever, you got to be very careful. Because even if you believe it, you want to be politically correct. Unless you're a rabid anti-Semite, you don't care. But it's part of your psyche. Bad character traits become part of our psyche. It's harder to fight. You do something wrong once. Okay, you work on it. You repent. You do whatever you need to do. Then you do it a second time. Same thing, you go through the same process. Once you do it a third time, fourth time, fifth time, it's part of you. Once something is part of your psyche, it's part of your inside, so to speak, very, very hard to fight. I'm not going to say impossible. Very, very hard. Very, very hard over here. Right? So even anger, if a person wants to fake it, like the Rambam says, you want to fake it in order to chastise a child, you got to be very careful doing it. Why? You got to be very careful because you don't want any tinge of anger inside of you. Because anger destroys. 100% anger destroys. So a person will say, what? Can never get upset? I'm going to tell you, put this on my site and painted your gain, or on my TikTok as well. that I mentioned last week, this whole thing about Yosef and his brothers, right? So Rav Yisrael Brog, who I think is the son-in-law of Rav Victor Miller, of blessed memory, they put out a par sheet every week. And it's pretty incredulous that Yosef, I'll just mention this, that Yosef says, that, Yosef gets sold, to Egypt, and he says, I'm Yosef, your brother. Genesis chapter 45, verse 4 says, I'm Yosef, your brother, whom you sold to Egypt. Right? So says Reb Meir Levi Soloveitch, a blessed memory. That was Reb Yisrael Brog's Rebbe, right? Son of the Brisker Rav, one of the sons of Reb Yisrael Zev Soloveitch, a blessed memory, I think. And he says, I'm Yosef. Well, they didn't believe him. They couldn't, they were, awestruck, so to speak. It's not like they didn't say, oh, no, you're not. They accepted what he said, but they were confused. So the question is, he says, I'm Yosef, your brother. My kesher, what's the connection over here? Right? Not only that, he says that you sold to me in Egypt. Well, don't we already know that? That's obvious information. Don't the brothers know they sold him in Egypt? What's he adding? What's he adding over here? So Rashi says to Genesis chapter 47, verse 31, that he bowed down the head of the bed, right? And he thanked Hashem for having a family. None of them were evil. And second, even though Yosef was taken captive among the non-Jews, he remained whole in his righteousness. So says Reb Meir Soloveitchik, he says, but he doesn't say that he was righteous. What does he say? That he remained righteous. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean he remained righteous? Over here. So Yosef wanted to teach the brothers an unbelievable lesson. In spite of everything transpired, right? They sold him. They hated him. They condemned him to death, right? And all that. What did Yosef say? He says, from my perspective, I'm completely your brother. I have nothing in my heart against you. This is a problem. This is a major problem. Forget about whatever we've gone through. We're going to use Yosef over here as an example. His brothers hated him, told him the dreams. They hated him more. They wanted to kill him. They put him in a pit with scorpions and snakes. And he's begging to all of them to save him. They all look the other way. Not only that, they sit and eat bread. Now, could be. Devin maybe did deserve the death penalty, right? But they were too cruel. A little bit went too far. But what does Yosef say all the time? You're my brothers, right? Now, if someone, so says Rabbi Brog over here, he says, if someone would try to take his brother's life, try and kill him, or sell him as a slave, why they sell him as a slave? Because they don't like him. You know what? We're gonna just get rid of you, make some money. We'll slave you we'll sell you as a slave on the open market, and that's it. Now, don't you think if if someone's brothers did that to them, wouldn't they bear tremendous hatred? Sure, 100%. And you see, today he says you find children who feel hatred towards their parents. So he says, I got many people tell me that they hate their parents. They don't talk to their parents. But the parents never sold them into slavery. They never put them to work, delivering papers and taking their money, so to speak. He says, I met a lot of people hate their siblings, hate their brothers, sisters. Why? A lot of time he says over money. One of the siblings got, a better deal, got the upper hand, or whatever the case is. Or they feel disrespected, looked down upon by others. Why? Because they're not so successful. Anyone have that? I'm sure, plenty of people have that. Oh, you just teach Torah to people. It's not a real job. You're scamming off and on Jews. Heard that also. whatever, you're put down. You're put down. Now, that the nature of hate, he says, when you're angry at someone, it doesn't dissipate over time. It doesn't go away, it gets worse. Anger builds up, right? This is the point over here. The anger builds up, it fills the heart, it overpowers the heart. I'm just reading what he says. Becomes an integral part of people's lives. The more hatred, the more anger, it overcomes you. Makes you paralyzed to that. But you can't think otherwise. You never think of them in a good way. Now, I'm not saying what they did was good. We're talking about things they did bad. What? There have to be a shmata, have to be a ragdoll, have to be stomped on. Gets better. So Rabbi Brock says, I can't begin to tell you how many people I've spoken to have this issue. So here, what's the Torah telling me? He says you might say, well, the slavery is an extreme, right? It's pretty extreme, right? But the fact you got thrown under the bus, or you feel you were thrown under the bus by somebody in your family, is that so uncommon? No. Someone wrongs them. What happens? We get angry. We get ticked off. They believe the parents were the cause of their downfall, their brother, their sister, all of them combined. What does that have to do with Yosef? What do we learn from Yosef at Tzaddik? What do we learn from Yosef over here? Let's see what he says. Yosef at Tzaddik understood there's nothing else in the world that has any power aside from God. He had an unbelievable amount of belief and faith in him. And he says he never turned to nonsense. He never imagined that people, or let's say the boogeyman or monsters, had any power to challenge him. He was in control, right? Or let's say better, God is in control. That whatever happened was done because God wanted it. Because he controls the world in all its details. Because it says the person doesn't knock his little finger in this world below unless it's decreed from above, right? Unless it's decreed from above. Right, the Gemara says. So he says people are going to blame their spouse for different things. They cause this, they cause that. But they think that the person has an ability, that these people have an ability to bring the hurt. Now, we're not saying what they do is right. Right? No question. We're not giving them a free pass, per se. But here, what's he saying? He's saying that if everyone comes from a Kodesh Baruch Hu, everything comes from God. There's no place for any claim on a human being who brought this upon me. Why? Why can't I complain and say, this one did that, the other one did that, the other one did a third thing, and we're all gonna get angry because we're human? Very good. But he says, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to. Because this is what God wanted. This was a decree. Therefore, in the heart of Yosef, they didn't sprout or grow any bitterness and hatred. He didn't have any bitterness or hatred towards his brothers because of the sale, because of anything that resulted from the sale. He felt for sure, 100%, the way he was before anything happened. They were his brothers. And that's what it means over here, says Rabbi Brock. Says, I'm Yosef, your brother. I'm the same one who you sold me. I'm the one you sold to Egypt. And just like when I was in my father's house before the sale. Haven't you? Now, what's the issue? What's the issue over here? Brothers hated him. You already knew that. It was pretty bad. Brothers wouldn't talk to him. They wouldn't have anything to do with him. Here comes the dreamer. Right? They don't want to have anything to do with him. Yosef goes looking for his brothers. His father wants him to go look for his brothers. So Genesis 37, verse 17, right? This man says, who are you looking for? He said, I'm looking for my brothers. You know what he said? They went away from here. What does that mean? So what does Rashi say? Rashi said they made a decision. He's not our brother anymore. They said, let's go to Dawson and let's go over there. We're going to plot his death. But after the man told them that, what was Yosef's response? What did he say? Yosef went after his brothers, treated them with achva, with love. He was going self-sacrifice, Mesiras Nefesh, find out what they're doing, so he can report back to his father. Incredulous. They went, they left, they made a plan to kill him. What did he say? They're my brothers. Right? They're my brothers. Well, what did they do? They took him, they put him in a pit with snakes and scorpions. They took him out, they sold him to the Ishmaelites. Now, if this would have happened to us, this is what Rabbi Brog says. If this would have happened to any normal person, meaning all of us, any normal person, I mean, I don't know if they're going to call us normal, any normal person in general, guy would have had a heart attack. He would have blown his brains, right? He'd be burning mad, justified, burning mad. How could you do this to me? So he says Rabbi Brog, you imagine someone would have done a little bit of this to us. Even if it was a little bit, not even this severe, we go nuts. Or his language, you go berserk. And then the brothers take Yosef out of there. They sell him to the Ishmaelites. The Medrash says the Yosef laid down in front of each brother separately, pleaded with him for rachamim, for compassion to each brother. And they didn't want to have any compassion for him. But he still had this love. He still calls them his brothers. And that love wasn't diminished at all. So he says, you see an unbelievable thing over here. Even though he had tremendous faith, he had tremendous bitachon, right? He still wanted rachamim. He still wanted compassion. Guess what? He didn't get full of bitterness. Doesn't say once he was bitter. Doesn't say the guy was walking in a cage in Egypt thinking, how can I pay them back? Right? So then he goes on to other examples. I'm not going to go through this whole thing. Right? Read some of it later this week. Make a TikTok video, we'll see. What's the bottom line? What's the bottom line over here? The bottom line is, how do we look at suffering? How do we see suffering in general? So he says the difference of opinion over here of how to view it. Right? Some of are aware, famous story of Reb Zusha, who was Rabbi Meshulam Zusha of Hanipol, lived 1718 to 1800. He was a famous Hasidic master. And a Chassid came to the Rebbe, known as the Medrash Magid the Mezrich. And he lived 1704 to 1772. And he said, what does it mean where it says the person is obligated to bless Hashem for the bad as he blesses him for the good? Right? Because the Gemara says, you know what it means? Just like someone this good one is accepts with great joy. If anything good happens, so too if anything bad happens, he's going to accept with great joy. So Chassid asks, how's that possible? How's that possible? Thank God for that. Like he's agreeing over here. Right? How's that possible? So the Maggid Medrash tells him, go to Reb Zusha. Go ask him. Go ask him this question. So he goes to Reb Zusha. He asks him this question. He says, I don't understand the question. He said, I've never experienced any bad in my life. That's what he said. He said you have to go to somebody more experienced that's had these terrible things happen to me. So the Chassid comes back to the Maggid Mezrich and says, I was there. Must have been some mistake. He said, basically, I have no connection to this. So he said, what did he tell you? They told me he never experienced any evil in this life. Any bad. So the Maggid told him, he said, that was the answer. Right? He did answer you. That's why I wanted you to see him. Why? Because all his life he lived in the chakus. He lived in great poverty. Right? Terrible poverty. And he suffered from all kinds of other suffering and all kinds of pains in his body. And with all that, suffering in pain, suffering with poverty, he didn't say any bad in his life. In other words, everything is good, just like Nachamish Gamzu said. Gamzu l'toive, it's all good. Right? So that person could agree that the bad, agree on the bad is just like he would agree on the evil. Right? In other words, if a person is proper emunah, everything that happens in his life is good. He doesn't see any bad. Now, in Brisk, where Rav Chaim of Brisker lived, and Brisker Rav of Yisrael Soloveitchik, of blessed memory, his son lived, etc. So they had a little bit different approach. That according to Rav Chaim of Volozhin, a famous student of the Vilna Gaon, born 250 years ago. So he said, just accept suffering with love. Now, does that mean you don't feel it? You don't feel the pain? And you see it as pure good? You know why? Because it says David HaMelech comes along, King David himself, Psalm chapter 23, verse 4, it says, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Means that the stick you hit me with, now this is the point. The stick you hit me with, your staff that you let me lean on, both gave comfort. Why? Because the suffering that King David had, was considered a stick. He knew where the stick was coming from. It came from God. But he didn't feel that it was true pain. He didn't feel they were candies, right? That's a different thing. He didn't feel it was all sweet. But in spite of that, David HaMelech says King David, they're equal in my eyes. They both comforted me. So even though I agree and I recognize, the great pain that I'm in, I know it's all from Hashem. I know it's a comfort. I know it's for the best, and I accept it just like I accept the staff as support. You give me the support. You also hit me with the stick. So he said that's why it's an obligation to make this blessing on the good as well as the bad. And we see that written in other works also from the great righteous person of Yosef Zundel of Salam. So there are two opinions. One opinion, as they say in Brisk, even though a person got suffering, doesn't mean it's sweet. Doesn't mean it's like a candy over here. But I'm also comforted. But also, like the Maggid of Mezrich said, everything is for the good. Right? That's what Yosef believed. So he's going to say, with all the trouble and all the difficulties, and I guarantee, no offense to whatever difficulties anyone out there has gone through, doesn't matter. The point is, with all the difficulties we've gone through, I don't think we were put in a pit with scorpions, right, and snakes. I don't think we were, sold to be a slave. I don't think we were put in jail. That's what a jail was like 3,000 years ago, etc. And the hate that we've had doesn't mean we've had easy lives by any stretch. But you know what? How did Yosef view it? Yosef viewed it as like nothing happened. They're still my brothers. They didn't do anything wrong because everything comes from God. Everything we see comes from God. Now, we could still say, okay, that's a very high level, extremely high level. Now, in Brisk, they say the same thing. Everything comes from God. There's one difference. What do the Briskers say? Even though it's God, doesn't mean it's sweet. Yosef looked at everything as being good. There's no bad. So it's all sweet. It doesn't matter. But what happened to it? So that's what he's teaching. That's what, in the name of Rabbi Meir Halevi Soloveitchik, a blessed memory, right? This is what Rabbi Brog over here is saying. He's saying with all the difficulty, he didn't have one claim against them. Not one claim. Now again, nobody has easy lives. Nobody's saying we have easy lives. Right? But the question is, where does it come from? We could do things, and go against Kaufman's 615th commandment and don't be a moron. Yeah. We could be stupid. That's 614th commandment. Or we can have things we're not in control of and God throws our way. And God makes us suffer for whatever reason. Is this suffering going to be easy? No. Everyone according to their level, whatever it is. But when people do things, this is the whole point. When people do things, he's saying, look where it comes from. So we could be like people in Brisk and say, yeah, but it's not sweet. And it's annoying, right? So we'll probably take that approach. It's easier, right? In a certain way. But you're still got to acknowledge where it comes from. And the point is, yeah, it's a test. It's not supposed to break us, as we always say. But look at what Yosef said. Look what they put him through. They put him in a pit. They sold him. All these terrible things. They don't have anything to do with him. Well, we don't have siblings. Don't have anything to do with us. I'm sure everybody does. Some more, some less. If you have siblings or parents, extended family, yeah, they thrown us out to hang and dry. Okay? Right? That very well may be true. Right? So I would say, okay, they say, who needs them? What would I need them for? They are, they're my parents. They're, okay, you got to show a certain level of respect, whatever. But, at the end of the day, God's putting them in our path for whatever reason. Because he knows best. And what they say and what they do, he knows best. It's for us. It's for our benefit. To make us stronger, not to break us. You're going to say, but it's really depressing. Okay, so think about it this way. Think about it this person, family-wise, parents, siblings, children, whatever it is. Think about they have a 25 IQ. And they slobber on you. And they spit on you. And they smack you around. Are you going to take them seriously? No. They're mentally challenged. They're mentally challenged. So it's annoying. Okay. No one likes to be around that necessarily. Okay. But at the same time, are you going to get upset? Why are you going to get upset? Person's insane. Literally, they're insane. Right? In general. Shouldn't say insane. They're mentally challenged. Fine. So take someone who's not mentally challenged. And they say things and they do things. Okay. Even if, according to the strict definition, they're not mentally challenged, right? But, aren't they insane? They're insane, right? They go against what the Torah says. That's insanity. They won't say I'm normal, I'm this. Okay. But someone who's insane, I'm not going to worry about what they say. I'm not going to worry about what they do. I'm not going to care one iota. Because even if someone says something, right, we'll get back to what we were speaking about before. Yeah, you should know what to answer, 100%. But at the same time, you got to see the repercussions. But at the same time, you got to realize whatever someone says, they're saying it because God puts those words in their mouth in order to get to you. But God's giving us a message. He's giving us a message. Might be a painful message. I had someone tell me, I'll save your stuff for your students. Get off your soapbox. Right? That was the put down. I don't have to listen to you. I'm bigger than you. I'm better than you. I'm, whatever. The Vita told me that a long time ago. I would have thought about it, thought of what to answer, this, that. You know what? You know what I do today? I go, bink. You know why I go, bink? The person's retarded. Can't say that, but I'm going to say it. It's retarded. Right? Mentally challenged will be better. I don't want to get banned from YouTube. Right? You're mentally challenged. I don't care what he says. It's going to get under my skin. No, it'll be good. It'll be good fodder for my classes. People say things and do things. Okay? But someone's going to say, come on, doesn't it get under your skin a little bit? At this stage, people can say what they want. They don't like it. They go, hey, Kogo. I'm not going to be politically correct. Sticks and stone. But someone's going to say, but it gets under my skin. Okay. Did this person throw you in a pit? They put you in a pit with scorpions and snakes? No. Did they sell you, as a slave? No. Right? Are they being obnoxious? Yes. Are they trying to get under your skin? Yes. They don't care what they say, right? They're insensitive, right? So how do you view it? They're going to say, but I'm not Yosef Atzadi. I'm not at that level. So the two approaches agree in one thing. They agree that everything comes from God. That they agree. Now, one approach is nothing is bad because it's what God wants. The other approach is that it's not sweet. But the same stick that hit me is the same stick I lean on. Which means you go, bink. That's what you got to do. Painful. Could be painful. right? But if we understand where it all comes from, then you're going to ask a different question. What's the different question? The different question is, did I get the message? What message should I be getting? Right? So family says things. Family they make obnoxious statements, let's say. So who says I have to speak to them? You can say, listen, you're being offensive. This is anti-Semitic. Shut your mouth. You want to have a relationship? Fine. I don't need to hear this. If they continue, you got to make a decision. How much I should stay connected to them. Now, would I tell people to disconnect straight away? No. You got to give people a chance. Been with them for years. Family's family, quote unquote. Blood is thicker than water. Right? Hate that statement. Blood is thicker than water. Yeah, it is. So, a person doesn't have to be a dish rack over here. Be stomped at, be made fun of, this and that. So give them a choice. After a while. Say, listen, you want to talk about other things? Fine. This conversation we're not having. And if they continue, okay. So if you have no choice, and you have to be in contact with them and this and that, right? So, let's say you're on the phone and they're yelling and screaming here. We'll take my cell phone here, right? So they're yelling and screaming, and they're saying all kinds of terrible things. You do with the phone, you go like this. See, you go, boom. So they can yell and scream, you don't hear anything. Or you just say, yeah. That's it. What else are you going to do? All right? It's not worth it. Totally not worth it. So, I would say we have to work hard, be like Yosef and Tzaddik. You got to see it all is good. Because what God wants. Right? You can say, what good could come out of this? I think it's going to make people stronger. That's for sure. And even when, a person converts, or even if they don't convert, right? When you say, thank God I'm not like them. Or, you make that blessing, thank God I'm not a non-Jew, right? After conversion. So you're ecstatic. You're ecstatic you're not a non-Jew. Because what they do. I'm not saying all of them are like that. Right? But that's your intention. I get to keep more mitzvahs. Right? I get to work on myself more. People say things, they do things, they don't care. They want to work on character traits. They're only going to tell you if they say something obnoxious, why are you so sensitive? That's what they're going to say. That's what they're going to say. Now, you can tell me, come on, people are insensitive and they don't care. You're right. You're 100% right. But at the same time, what is Rabbi Brock saying over here? He's saying, you can look at it one of two ways. You look at it that, both ways, both agree, as we said. Both are going to agree that all comes from God. Right? And he's throwing the stick at us. Right? So if that's the case, then, I have to take it for that. Or you can say, okay, he's throwing the stick at me. So, but the suffering is hard. The suffering's not sweet, okay? So maybe most of us will be on that level. But look at the power. Look at the power of bitachon. I think the Miller, blessed memory, lived this. People said things, he didn't care. He did not care at all. Everything's from God. Take it for what it is. Be thankful for what you have. Plenty of things to be thankful for. Right? But again, what's the bottom line? Bottom line, people will say, but it's hard and I didn't deserve it. There's no such thing as a person didn't deserve it. They have it coming. Why? Because God said you have it coming. Now, and it could be because something our soul has to go through, not necessarily something I did. Be worse for us if it's something we did. And these are the repercussions, for sure. Because then you get no one to blame but yourself. You say, caught up in this, my evil inclination. Okay. Nobody wants to suffer. But we don't grow if you don't suffer. Right? But he's saying over here, a person can live such such a happy life and be on such an equilibrium by realizing these people, my language, I can't believe I'm going to say this, these people are turds. That's what they are. They're lowlifes. It's not their fault. Not their fault. It's the way they're brought up. They don't look into things. They don't change. They don't want to change. It's their choice. It's 100% their choice. I'm going to get upset because someone with a 5 IQ or 25 IQ is sitting there slobbering and saying, like, who are you? You're nothing. You're a zero when it comes to Torah and mitzvah. Right? This is not an easy mentality to have and to overcome. Because people are going to say, but what they say is cruel. And what they say is below the belt. True. They were, so it's always good. If you have a good, snappy answer, to answer a snappy question, you knock them out in a nice way. That's it. Someone says, isn't circumcision barbaric? You say, no, barbarians don't do it. It's an easy answer. I've never been able to use it, but it's a great answer. You give them an answer, you knock them out. That's it. Doesn't Judaism discriminate against women? No. That's it. Right? And they want to go further and why and this. Okay. I'm going to get upset. I know what their agenda is. 100%. Oh, you think this? Okay, yeah, I do. Want to know why? No. You don't let these conversations get off the ground. And if they ask a question, if they make a statement, I don't say answer. I can just say, okay. Or I can say, oh. Why do you say, oh? Because I'm not asking a question. If they ask a question, different issue. But an agenda means they're asking an answer. Can't answer an answer. That's why in the Gaza, when it says the evil son, you don't answer him. You blunt his teeth. Why? He's asking a question. No, he's not. He's got an agenda. Someone's got an agenda, you don't answer. There's no answer. And I think Judaism discriminates against women. Oh. And I think, okay, you can think what you want. I don't need to answer. There's no question being asked. People are going to say, no, you can understand. It's, it's this, it's that. They didn't ask a question. They're just trying to be obnoxious. If they're asking a question, they say, if I were to ask you what you think about this, what would you say? Okay, that's a question. But if someone's got an agenda, I can't answer an answer with an answer. They're not interested in the answer. Right, so we get all cooked up. Someone said this, they didn't ask anything. We're already giving, the fifth answer. They didn't ask a question. And even if they do ask a question, doesn't necessarily mean they want an answer. Okay. Right, but at the same time, and this is not something easy to swallow, and that is, where does it all come from? Where does all the difficulty start? You say it's all with me. It's what I did, not necessarily. It could be God put you in the situation for whatever reason. But even if it is what I did, guess what? You have it coming. Why do I have it coming? Because God said you have it coming. And everything comes from him. It's a lot easier to live that way. Okay, I have to deal with it. Not going to say not. But at the same time, where's it all stem from? That's the whole point. It all stems from him. So now the question is, what did I learn? Or did I not learn? Etc. So you say by Yosef HaTzadik, it's a huge level. It's a very high level. Okay? That's the difference that we mentioned many times between Nachum Ish Gamzu and his student Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said, Kol David Rachmanu L'Toivav. Everything that God does is for the good. Nachum Ish Gamzu said, Gamzu L'Toiv, it's all good. Right? Just like Reb Zusha. It's all good. I don't understand. I don't have anything bad in my life. Because they believe where it all comes from. And they live it. These other things, okay. It's another thing I have to deal with, okay? But essentially, God is good. It's a test. How are we going to deal with the test? We're going to pass. We're not going to pass. That's the whole question. Right? But we live in this cream puff generation. And everyone's going to say, yeah, but it's hard. You're right. It may be hard. I always say, read the book of Psalms. You think you have life hard? Read what King David said. What he went through. Right? We can say for our generation, it's very hard. Okay. But if I live with the idea God is in charge and nothing can happen unless God wants it to happen, now the question is a different question. Now the question is, why am I getting what I'm getting? What am I supposed to learn from it? Right? The question is, but, so I should be, what if I don't show anger outside, but I hold it inside? That's also bad. Why is it bad? Again, look at Yosef and the brothers. He didn't have any hatred towards them. Any. It's unbelievable. Right? So why should a person get angry? Because, we're upset and we're too busy running after the stick, not after the one who wields the stick. The one who's wielding the stick is God himself. And if he's wielding the stick, it's like, okay, you want me to grow in this situation. You want me to work on, flex my emunah muscle. You want to put me in an untenable position. Okay. You're the one in charge. You're the one who can take me out of it in a split second. Yeshua's Hashem K'erifying. Can happen anytime. Not only that, it can happen in ways we don't expect. Totally don't expect. Right? So you say, okay, I'm not holding to that level. Probably most of us aren't. So you say, at least, what about brisk? They say, also everything comes from God. It's just not as sweet. It's hard, okay? But if you understand where it comes from, you understand it's for my benefits. The question is, how am I going to grow from it? How am I going to get over the hump? Because God can do anything. God's the big boss. He's in charge. So if he's in charge, guess what? He calls the shot. He can give you things. He can take things away. He can help you. He can make life difficult. Everything in between. Right? But we have to acknowledge where it comes from. Once you acknowledge where it comes from, then we're like Teflon. Why do I say Teflon? Because no matter what anyone says, it's like we got this protective circle around us that's protecting us. We're going to say it. It's hard and it's difficult. You're right. You're right. But you know what? God knows what he's doing much more than we do. Right? Much more than we do. And in the end, okay, put you in a situation. Say, okay, I don't know what's going to be. I have no idea what's going to be. But he's the one in charge. And it's going to happen one way or another. Maybe more difficult, less difficult. But that has to be the acknowledgement. Once you acknowledge you have that special connection, nothing can hurt us. No matter what anyone says. All right, God, you want me to hear this obnoxious statement? What's that going to do? It's going to make me stronger. It's going to make my resolve stronger to keep what you want me to keep. It's going to make me kiss the ground and say, thank God I'm not a non-Jew. No offense to any non-Jews who listen to me. Right? Thank God I'm not a non-Jew. Thank God I don't have that mentality. Thank God I'm able to understand what the Torah says, what the mitzvahs I have an obligation to keep, or not, or whatever the case is. So much to be thankful for that we have this right mentality. Oh, you want, apple pie with everything on top and you want everything to be easy? That's a different issue. That's not what life is. Life's a constant battle. What it is. Constant battle. And the only difference is how we accept what life throws at us. Right? But the game over here says, as it says Rabbi Braga over here, the game is to understand God's the one in charge. He's the one that does everything. He's the one that puts us in our situations and whatever. He's the one. So we can pray, take it away. We can pray for help, but we have to acknowledge where it comes from. Once you acknowledge where it comes from, what's going to bother us? Say, okay, this happened. I got stuck here. Okay. You obviously wanted me to be stuck in this way. I had something last week. I'll tell a story. It happened to me. Can't say this happened 150 years ago, 500 years ago, whatever. I had a story yesterday. I have a certain time frame, to make a certain bus. Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I miss it by like a split second, whatever it is, or, so what happened? So whatever. I finish this class. I try and get a lift. And I said, okay, I have a certain amount of time in order to get to X place. Well, I should make this bus. If not, there's another bus hour and a half later. Right? So it's always a thing in my mind. Okay, I got a certain amount of time. Am I gonna make it? Traffic, this, that. Anyway, cars are whizzing by. I'm not getting a ride. Okay. So I figured, all right, I'll take another bus. I'll take the later bus, whatever. So, what's my mentality? What was my mantra? My mantra always is, okay, you want me to find a ride. You find me a ride, and you get me there on time. Or you won't, and I won't be upset either way, right? I won't be upset either way. You can do anything at any time. Meanwhile, time's going by. Time is ticking. And I realize, okay, I'm probably not going to make it. Okay. So what happens? What happens? As I'm thinking this mantra, time's going by. Time's gone by. It's okay. So maybe I'm not meant to make this bus. Okay. What happened? Somebody stops. Somebody stopped. They weren't religious, by any stretch. Or didn't look religious at all. They stop, fine. I said, you going to this place? They said, yeah. I said, great. So they said, hop in. I go, we start going. I said, by the way, are you going to this other place where I need to catch this bus back to Jerusalem? They said, yeah, as a matter of fact, we are. So I said, great. I said, they said, yeah, no problem. We'll drop you off right there. Right to the door. Right to the door of the bus station. Right? So, okay. So now there's no traffic. There's absolutely no traffic. I was like, this is unbelievable. I got two non-religious Jews sitting in front of me. They're blasting music like you can't imagine. Right? I'm in the back seat. And, cars going. There's no traffic. Right? As we get closer to this other place, okay. There's a little bit of traffic there. But guess what? I had 10 minutes to spare. They dropped me a block or two away from where the train station was. Sorry, where the bus station was. That was it. I walked a couple blocks, walked in to 10 minutes. I had more than 10 minutes. Actually, I had about 13 minutes. Right? But why do I say it like that? Because these buses leave on the dot. That's obviously what they're getting paid for, to be on time. Right? So they leave on the dot. When I mean on the dot, I had a bus pulling out, running after it, didn't stop. Now, could have stopped. They wanted to, but okay, whatever. That happened. I've had times I missed it by, there was traffic. I thought I was going to make it. As I'm going to the bus station, I see the bus going out. The other bus going, okay. Right. So I had 13 minutes to spare. 13 minutes to spare. Right. And I was pretty much already thought when I want to pick me up by a certain time, I said, okay, so I have to take the other bus. I'll have to take a later bus, whatever it's going to be. But my mantra was, God, you're the one in control. You're the one in control. You want me to make the bus? I'll make it. However you want me to make it. You don't want me to make it? Sometimes I'm on this other bus. I'm making calculations. Okay, if there's no traffic, I should make it. If not, I've had times I made it by a minute and a half. 2 minutes. Like, ran to the bus station, go through security, whatever. I see the bus there and I run out, and I catch it. There are a few times I missed it, or I missed it by 10 minutes. Okay. Right. So what am I going to get upset about? You wanted to make an earlier bus. Okay. God says, I don't want you to make the earlier bus. Okay. So what am I getting upset about? Now, you're going to say, well, then you get annoyed when the other bus was, took off and didn't want to stop. Yeah, that was annoying. That was annoying. Could have stopped if wanted to. Didn't. Okay. Right. So what happened to your Emunah B'tachon then? Good question. I should have said, okay, that's what God wants. So yeah, my evil inclination got me. Okay. Right. But the other day I said, oh, so that's the mentality. For anything we do, God, you're the one in charge. You can make anything happen. Now, this car, as I'm thinking, okay, I'm probably not going to make it, but if you want me to, humor me. That's what I'm thinking. I said, humor me. Show me you can make anything happen anytime. 2 minutes later, this car comes, and stuff. I'm like, okay, great. I got in, I made it. Again, there are other times, doesn't happen that way. Other times I get stuck. I have to wait or whatever. Other times I have to wait, take another bus to another bus, whatever. Okay. Right? It's mentality. We change the way we think. And if you change the way you think, that's everything. But you're going to say, but it's hard to change the way I think. Guess what? Wake up and change the way you think. Say this mantra over and over and over, right? People are going to say, and I've heard this 100 times, 1,000 times, Rabbi, I tried, it didn't work. We don't live, this is not, Judaism and spirituality is not something like fast food. I go in, give me this burger in 2 minutes. If it doesn't come out in 2 minutes, it's not piping hot, we're upset. So you got to do what you got to do. But at the same time, we have to learn to change our mentality. Once we change that mentality, doesn't matter what life throws at us. That's the whole point. Doesn't matter what people say and what people do and this and that. Who cares? My mentality has to change. Sticks and stones. These people are nothing. They're insane. They have a 25 IQ. Now, I wouldn't tell them that, right? But I'm going to say it anyway 100 times. That's the mentality. And if that stick is beating me and is hurting me, then God wants to get something out of me. And he wants to squeeze me. Can God do anything at any time? Yeah, he can. Anytime. Anytime. Right? Money? How many people have said, yeah, God, you weren't in charge. I need this, I need that. Boom! Something shows up out of nowhere. We at least expected it. We totally least expected it. Right? Money's a good example. It's a good example. I'm sure people have seen it. Myself, I've seen it a number of times. We absolutely least expect it. At the time, you don't expect it. You say, yeah, this is going to help me then. Or it doesn't matter. God gave it you when you needed it. When he said you needed it. So that's the mantra. Does it always work out the way we think? No. Is it always pretty? No. But if I have that belief, 100% I have that belief, and he's the one in charge, nothing goes wrong. Nothing goes, but what if it does? What if something doesn't go as planned? What if I need this money, didn't come in? That's also part of the plan. Why is that part of the plan? Because God's saying, you're right, I could change things. I want to see where you're holding. I want to see where you're holding in the world. You can say, but it's getting very desperate. It's getting very tight. Okay? Right? We're flexing those muscles. We're flexing those muscles. And those muscles tell us God can do anything at any time. That's the mantra. Doesn't matter how hard it is, right? Get this thing out of your head. Doesn't matter how hard things are. Things can change, right? And it's going to change who we are. Totally going to change us. And people are going to see this. Wow, why aren't you getting upset? Well, I'm flexing my Emunah muscles. Why are you not getting upset? Because God runs the world. And God can do anything anytime. I told people certain things, they're like, why would someone do that? Like incredulous, about certain things. Someone would help doing this. Why would they do that? Because they believe in higher things. Because they believe if they have the ability to help, they should help because it's the right thing to do. Oh, you can't tell someone that. The right thing to do when you say what is right. People think you're nuts. Totally nuts. I've been called a lot worse. Right? But at the end of the day, God can do anything at any time. Doesn't matter if it's hard or not. Right? How high we'd be on that level of Yosef Atzadik. How high we'd be on that level. That whatever happens to us, everything is good. We don't look at anything as being bad. You say, well, it's a temporary setback. Well, God's going to put things, in order. He just hasn't told me how he's going to do it. Right? Telling someone that today about something. I said, I haven't been privy to how it's all going to work out in the end. And where it's going to go. I haven't been privy to that information. You know what? It's going to happen one way or another. He's going to make it happen. So if he's going to make it happen, okay, wouldn't we rather know the information? Sure. Let a little birdie tell us, okay, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. In 6 months' time, this, that, and the other. Okay, very good. Now you know what's going to be. You're given the game plan. Are we given a game plan? Nope. We're not given a plan. We're not told how. We're not told where, when. We're not told anything. If it would be, it'd be a lot easier. So again, that's also part of what we need to do. And that God, you're the one in charge. I need this and that. You keep saying it over and over and over again. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get what you want. God can say no. He can say maybe. He can say yes. He can say, well, hold on. We're going to see. Right? But when we need something, it has to come from the depth of a person's heart. It has to come from the depth. That's what God wants to see. Not just the flippant, I need this, I need that. Of course he knows what we need. But you got to ask. You got to ask like you're desperate. And if you are desperate, all the more so. You got to show. Doesn't God know? Yeah. But when we realize he's the one in control and he can do anything, takes all the pressure off. All the pressure. Why? Because I'm going to leave it up to him. Oh, you put me in this situation? Okay. Dig me out. Let's go. Let's see. I'm telling you, 2 minutes. I said, okay, time's ticking here. You want me to make the bus or not? Let's see. You don't want me to make the bus? It's okay. I'll get home an hour later. Okay. It's your choice. Out of nowhere, 2 minutes later, this car comes down. Okay, I've been saying a similar mantra for the last 20 minutes. And at that time, God said, okay, now I'm going to show you. You put me in a corner, now I'm going to show you. Now, you're going to make nobody stop. We're going to take this other bus, fine. We're taking me another 40 minutes to get to where I need to get to. Right? And then I would have waited for another 20 minutes. Okay, that would have, that's happened also. Do I sweat about it? No. Do I think about what's going to be that? No. My mantra was, you're in charge. That's what it teaches. You are in charge. That's it. For good, for bad, you're in charge. That's what Rabbi Brog here is saying. Right? That's what he's saying over here. That's what Yosef understood. And I guarantee, no offense, anyone's gone through any trauma or tragedies or whatever, right? Compare what Yosef went through with his brothers. Now, someone could say, I had it just as bad. I would probably beg to differ. I'm not going to say exactly the same. I wouldn't go that far. But, everyone according to what they've gone through. Imagine a person's down and out having difficulty. And, their family has money and they refuse to do anything to help. I said, wow, you should do this, you should do that, you should do the other thing. And no one's, there's no empathy. Isn't that annoying? Yeah. Wouldn't anyone be upset? Sure. But if you believe everything comes from God, so who are they? What? You have to rely on them? God can do anything. God absolutely can do anything. That's the mantra. You have to say it once, twice, 50 times, 100 times, till it becomes part of our psyche. You're going to, again, people are going to say, we'll come back to the same thing. People are going to say, oh, but I did it, and this and that didn't work. It takes effort. Things are not instantaneous. And if they're not instantaneous, they're going to put in effort. They're going to put in real effort. But it changes the way we think. When it changes the way we think, we're different people. And when we're different people, we're happier people. Why are we happier? Because we realize I have this connection to God. He can do anything. He's my big Father in heaven. Yeah, he can also put me on my knees. He can also do that also. He can also throw all kinds of things at us. True. He can also do a heck of a lot of good. Right? So we have to take it for what it is. That's what you learn. That's what you learn over here. Someone, let me see. Someone asks, all right, if everyone's mixed up, we don't know who is who, right? But we do know that Ham, that was the curse, right? That curse was on the blacks. Now, you might say they might have been all mixed up, true. But where did they go? Where did they go? They went to Africa. Now, if they went to Africa, which we understand, even if Sencheir mixed up all the tribes, okay, let's say, right? So then why is Africa, of all places, never had any success in the world? I mean, they brought back diseases we thought were cured. Okay, that's true. They never had dominion of the world. Anything. Famines, wars, all kinds of things. Right? So you have to ask, okay, even if you say Even if you say the whole populations will mix together with Sancheir, okay, you're still going to come up with an explanation. You're going to say Africa had bad luck more than any other continent. Yeah. And the blacks in America have had, all kinds of difficulty because of, a million different things, which may be true. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. But even if you want to say they're all mixed up and they don't have that bloodline or that same bloodline, so why do they go through what they go through? Why is that? You have to come up with an explanation. You have to come up with an explanation why that is. And why Africa's never done anything for the world. You can say Australia hasn't done anything, also, but every nation's had their day except them. So even if they're all mixed up, you got to come up with some other explanation. Did Joseph forgive his brothers? 100%. He's never angry at them, right? The Torah says clear. We just read it. We just read it today. He said everything comes from God, right? Right at the very end. Right at the very end. I'll read it here. It says, chapter 50, verse 15. Joseph's brothers perceived their father was dead. They said perhaps Joseph's going to nurse hatred against them, and then he surely repay us all the evil we did to him. So they're worried Joseph's going to act against them. Right, verse 16, they instructed that Joseph be told, your father gave orders for his death, saying, verse 17, this is what you're going to say to Joseph, please kindly forgive spiteful deed, your brothers and their sin, and all that. Right, and Joseph wept when they spoke to him. What did he say? Joseph said to them, verse 19, but Joseph said to them, fear not, for am I instead of God? Although you intended me harm, God intended it for good, in order to accomplish, clear as this day, that people will be kept alive. So fear not, I will sustain you and your young ones. He comforted them and spoke to their heart. That sound like he appeared a grudge? Nope. Totally accepted what they did, no grudge at all. Totally forgave. Totally forgave. Someone asked, wasn't Africa Moab? Not necessarily. I don't think so. Ham was the father of Canaan. Again, you have to go through genealogy. Right? They're an offshoot. Right? Africa is an offshoot, no question. Right? So if you're going to tell me Egypt, okay, what about every other country in Africa? What's the difference? What's the difference? Doesn't sound like that. Yeah, let me see a lot of other questions here. Someone says that Joseph gave it up, he didn't forgive them. I don't know. The Torah says he does. Or, not only that, we see over here they call them his brothers. Why do you call them his brothers all the time? Calls them his brothers. Doesn't bear a grudge. You ask the question, okay, we spoke about it. One of my videos on the Parsha, why, before that, Parsha V'yigash, why Joseph gets angry at the brothers. Why do they have to chastise them and go through this whole thing before he says, I'm Joseph? Right? Okay, that's the whole question. So you could say, well, according to that, he didn't forgive them. Right? And he took revenge. We won't say take revenge. So the whole question, why? Why he did that? Right? But according to this, what we just said is pretty clear. It's pretty clear. He bear no grudge at all. Could it be there are other commentaries say that he did? There are a lot of times the Torah says that he acted, that he considered them his brothers, Why? Why would he consider them his brothers the whole time? So you say maybe it's a technical issue because they were his brothers. Well, did they act like brothers? They didn't act like brothers. So why would we call them his brothers? If someone, we'll throw this out there, if someone, we had a brother or sister that even did half the things that his brother, we'd say, oh, that's my brother. Yeah, we say that's my dead brother. Right? He's going to be dead soon. We'll take care of him, right? For what he did or what she did. We would never call our siblings our siblings. They'll say, yeah, only by blood, but there'd be a lot of hatred, a lot of anger. Doesn't say he had any anger at all. Right? Doesn't say he had any anger. He said he accepted them. That's what the text seems to say. He accepted what they did. And he said, no, it's all because God wanted. So how's that anger? He didn't have anger. How did he not forgive? Right? You have to ask him where he gets it from. Right? Where he mentions it from. Ask him. Ask him if he got sources why he said it. I'd be curious to hear. Um, someone asks when I mentioned the story way at the beginning about the way I dress. Someone said what scared them. It wasn't when I was wearing a hat. That's not what scared them. I wasn't wearing a hat when they said it. They were just offended or spooked. I don't know. Spooked the way I made it. Could be when I had my hat on, but that's not when the conversation came up. Well, it wasn't about the hat. Maybe it was about tzitzis. Maybe it was about my yarmulke. The fact I wear a suit all, every day. But I also wear suits. Well, maybe not when they're not working or whatever, but okay. Yeah, it could be. It could be. But it doesn't really matter. It's just what you represent. That's what they're offended by. They're offended by 100% what you represent. Right? Someone asked me once, why do all, Orthodox Jews have to wear polyester? Well, it's not a problem with shotness. Makes it easier. Not a mixture of wool and linen. Why does it dress that way? Okay, people don't like it. Someone told me once, they're in Brooklyn, on Shabbos, and at a certain point, all these Orthodox Jews come out of synagogue. It's like a sea of black. Beautiful. So many Jews in shul, in synagogues, beautiful. But they go, oh, it's offensive. The whole sea of black. Okay. It's the way they dress. But why they make fun of it, right? That's the whole point. Why do they make fun of it? Because it bothers them. Why does it bother them? Ask the question, why does it bother them? It bothers them because they're offended by it. Why are they offended by it? Because they think they're better than you. But you're not saying that. That's the way you dress. Right? That's the way you dress. So why are they bothered by it? Because their heart tells them. Their soul tells them, you don't think I'm good enough. I didn't say anything. You don't think I'm Jewish. I didn't say that. Right? They're offended because they know what the truth is. That's where they're offended. Someone asks, wouldn't the negative feelings people experience be the spirit of judgment or shame? Again, what are they feeling? They're feeling judged. Even if you don't say anything, they're feeling judged. They're feeling what you're doing is you're saying they're wrong. Even if you don't say anything. Right? They don't dress that way. They don't do these things. So obviously, by process of deduction, they're saying, oh, you think I'm wrong. You think if I do this, it's wrong. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to say anything. That's what they think. 100%. That's what they think. Because they feel guilty. They want to justify what they do. Say, oh, you think I'm going to fry in hell forever? I've been married to a Jew for 35 years. Nothing bad's happened. Okay, yet it will eventually. If not now, not in this world, it's going to happen later, one way or another. Right? So it's just a matter of time. It's like, they say, I'll believe it when I see it. And not only that, but even if something bad, God forbid, happens, it's not going to make a connection to, to what they do. They're just going to say it's my bad luck or, whatever. Someone asks, we're not supposed to be like animals. Why our character traits are like animals? Be bold as a leopard. Again, it's an anthropomorphism. It's saying that they have character traits we can emulate. Right? Why is that bad? A leopard can be bold. An eagle can be light or fleet as a deer. So why is that bad? Those are good character traits. They're fast. We can take that to be a fast thinker, to be, better in shape. I don't know. Be bold, not be afraid. Not be afraid of what people think. Don't be a wuss, as we would say in Boston, right? Can't be weak over here. You got to do what you got to do. So if we take character traits from, being bold as an animal, it's not a bad thing. Definitely not a bad thing. Comparing us to that, right? Why would you, be as bold as this person? You got animals like that. We can take on good character traits of animals, take bad character traits, right? In other words, person can think they're God's gift to the world, and we can use our minds for good things, make good decisions. So if that's the case, we're the pinnacle of creation. We're greater than everything created in the world. If we don't do what we're supposed to do, then we can say we're created before. So our animals are created before us. So if that's the case, animals are created before us, then animals are better. And they're better than us. right? So animals can have good character traits. So why is comparing ourselves to them bad? If they're good, should we be like an eagle that rips its prey to shreds? No, but there's a good character trait of an eagle. It can be light, can be fleet, as a deer, right? That's not a bad thing. Definitely not a bad thing. Someone asked, if you understand the mantra and you say it regularly, right? That's all from God. How do you connect your heart to the teachings? Yeah, there's a disconnect. There could very well be a disconnect. You can say it, but you don't put it in your heart. How can a person, I'll say like this, how can a person believe everything in the Torah is true and then they sin? What's the answer? Because you're going to say we have an evil inclination. But but the Gemara says when a person sins, it's like nichnas po rosh shtus. A stupid, thing gets in our head and we do something for, how could Esav, we use this, good old Uncle Esav gave up his portion of the world to come for this world, for a bowl of lentils. Didn't he understand what the next world was? Yeah. Didn't he understand spirituality? Yeah. But the evil inclination got to him. The evil inclination killed it. So you can say the mantra 100 times, but if your evil inclination is still very strong, your heart doesn't hear it. So therefore, a person can give in to their, everyday evil inclination, whatever, whatever it may be. It doesn't mean the evil inclination disappears. But when a person says the mantra and he says it over and over and over, what's the evil inclination going to have power over? So you're going to say, but, I want to enjoy this or I want to enjoy that. And I know it's bad for me, but, I just got to get out of my system. I have to, whatever. Is the evil inclination very strong? True. So now you got the evil inclination and you got this mantra. So what's going to win? It depends how strong the evil inclination is. But if a person's working on themselves day in and day out, so the evil inclination gets, in certain things will get weaker, should get weaker. Are there times we can be susceptible? Then it can be more harder. We're more, let's say better. We're more vulnerable. Sure. 100%. And that we have to be on guard 10 times more. Right, we have to be on guard much stronger, otherwise evil inclination will come and overcome. We're going to say, what about the mantra? Again, if we're not on our game on a regular basis, on a daily basis, we can be thrown off very easily, right? Very easily. So therefore, you got to take what you know and put it in your heart. That's what you got to do. Now, again, there are other things that can overcome that. The evil inclination is very good at what it does. Doesn't need me to agree. Right? At the same time, I have to keep saying it over and over and over again and beat down this evil inclination. But, sometimes we're put in different situations. We're not thinking, we're tired, we're overcome by other things. And guess what? We succumb. We give in. Not that we should. Right? But, we're human. God understands we're human. But you can't just say, well, I'm human and whatever happens, happens. Can't say that. Right, that's a cop-out. Right, but you got to make it. You got to make it very, very strong. Over here. At the same time, a person has to realize, a person's in control. A person's in control of what we think. That sounds kind of outrageous, right? Some people. How can you control what you think? Easily. Put your mind to it. We can convince ourselves of anything. At the same time, we have to believe it. We have to live it. Could it be there are a lot of things going on that sometimes we're chasing our tails left and right. We're in this direction, that direction, the other direction. And it sounds like it's overkill, right? It sounds like, as much as all these things are going on, your brain can't process everything, right? It sounds like, you feel like you're going to pop, your brain's going to explode, right? Now, that's normal, but the question is how you dissect everything. You could have a lot of things going on at the same time, which a lot of us do, not just like one thing. Right? It's usually like a lot of things at once. Then you don't have a time to breathe or a chance to think. That's what the evil inclination wants. You don't have a chance just to sit back, analyze a little bit, think how you're gonna react, what you're gonna do. It's just like it's all like bam, 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 right? It's very hard. So it's like, it's like your brain is overloaded, true, right? But you have to take each thing and unravel it. Take each thing by itself. Okay, this happened. The other thing happened. How am I, sometimes, things overlap. At the same time, I have to realize you're right. So there's a lot of things going on. I have to take things piece by piece. You can't attack, we'll say like this, you cannot attack something. Let's say a person would be attacked on 10 fronts. 10 different fronts at the same time. You got to say, you're out of here. You're going to fail. You cannot, it's not like a person playing the old game Asteroids, right? Anyone remembers the old game Asteroids? And what do? You have all these things coming at you at once. What do? You hit hyperspace. What happens when you hit hyperspace? You might end up right in front of one of these things and bam, you die, right? So you cannot take too many things on that are head on. You got to take things step by step. Even if a person's hit in 20 directions at the same time, can happen. 100% it can happen. It can happen with health, can happen with livelihood. Usually both things go together, right? Can happen with family. I mean, a million things can happen all at once. But you have to take the most important thing you deal with first, whatever that is. And then you're going to deal with, other things. And sometimes you have to push off some other things. What's the bottom line? You cannot handle everything straight on. If you handle, the greatest part of the world can't do that. Right? There's just too many things. You're being pulled. We're not silly putty. We're not plastic man. You can't be, stretched in 1.5 million different directions all at once. So you're going to say, okay, I got a lot of these things to deal with. You got to make a priority. What's the most important thing? Once you know what the most important thing is, you try and deal with that. Then you try and deal with something else. Right? But to do it all at once, you're right. Your brain's going to get fried. Can't do it. 100% you can't do it. But when I realize, this mantra and that God's in charge, okay, he's going to take off the pressure. You pray, okay, all these things are going on. You got to help me deal with this. Give me superhuman strength. And, God can do that. We can be given superhuman strength that we don't think we had, right? To deal with a lot of things at once. But again, you'd have to prioritize. You'd have to say, this is the most important thing. I can deal with this first. Sometimes it's like putting out a fire with a squirt gun. That's what it's like. You're dealing with something, but you're putting a person to have like your major artery, blood's, spewing all over the place, God forbid. And what do? You put a Band-Aid on it. Sometimes, that seems like, what's happening, but you got to take everything, as it comes. You can't deal with everything at the same time. You can't. It's impossible. A person will go out of their mind because you want to deal with this, deal with that. And you don't have enough time. You don't have enough resources to deal with everything at once. Doesn't it? You can't. Impossible. Right? So you got to take it step by step. But, what do we want to do? Some people want to take the bull by the horns, want to just hit everything head on. You can't do it. It's impossible. Someone asks, what's your opinion of the Mishna's view of the prime matriarch suffering? Right? What else is the reason aside from God wanting to hear their prayers? I think that's a good enough reason. I'll just say this. What's the most important thing to a woman in general? It's having children. That's their nature in general. I mean, things might change today, but that's still their nature. Someone who can't have children, or let's say, even if they had a child, they go through, let's say, secondary fertility, meaning that, they're having a lot of difficulty having kids after that. Could have, 5-year gap, 10-year gap. I read a story, someone has had a child for the first time in 34 years. It's like unbelievable. Right? Imagine how much they prayed on a daily basis. I think that's pretty crucial. Because God likes the prayers of the righteous. Doesn't that just have to be the matriarchs? It could be the patriarchs also. God put them in all kinds of situations because he wanted to hear their prayers from the depth of their heart. Are there any other reasons? Could be. It could be. I think that's good enough. That's what I would, that's what I would say. Someone asked, oh, I missed this one. 1 second. Is boiled egg made by a Gentile kosher if it's still in the shell? Anything a non-Jew cooks for a Jew is forbidden. For a non-Jew, they cook it for themselves. It's fine. If it's a boiled egg, can they eat it? Sure. Can a Jew eat it? 1 second. Anything cooked by a non-Jew, a Jew shouldn't eat it. Right, in general. Someone has non-Jew switches on extra lighting on Shabbos. What was instructed not to do? Again, can a non-Jew use electricity on Shabbos? Yeah. They have to do something on purpose to desecrate Shabbos. Okay. So what if they turn on a whole bunch of lights? That's fine. They don't have prohibition against that. I would say, depending where a person's holding in the process, if they're already not turning on and off lights, but they only turn it off and on once to show that they're not keeping Shabbos like a Jew, fine. Should they keep turning the lights on and off? No. At that point, they shouldn't do it. And if they do it, it's a transgression. Not transgression. Not Jewish. I'm not saying a person should do it, but it's not transgression. Totally not transgression. Yeah. Someone asked about the metaphor, not to be like, yeah. Other things, I didn't even mention, but yeah, there are metaphors, against animals, bad things they do. Right. So that can also be a metaphor for Jews not to do certain things, right? But also do good things, right? As we mentioned. What about airline food, kosher meals? If they're kosher, right? What's the problem? You're going to say that the oven's not kosher. Okay, true. Let's say the other oven's not kosher. If I double wrap it, I don't want to have a kosher meal on an airplane. Thing is like, take like a saw, like a very sharp knife, whatever to open it up, right? It's been double wrapped. It's double wrapped. We don't have a problem. Kashrus wise, not a problem. So even if you had an oven that wasn't kosher, you didn't kosher it, but you put something in that was double wrapped, then you could eat it. All right, that wouldn't be a problem. Doesn't matter if it's heated by non-Jews or not. That's the whole point. Even if it is, so what? You're reheating. Reheating is not forbidden. Right? It's already cooked. If the food was raw, let's say, and they put it in that oven, it was double wrapped, that's a problem. That would be a problem. Why? Because it's not cooked. If it's something that's fully cooked, all you're doing is reheating, that's not a problem. Right? That if they cook something from beginning to end, that and a Jew doesn't have anything to do with the process, yeah, that would be a problem. No, a secular Jew, same thing, it's no difference. Right? If a secular Jew, all the ingredients are kosher, they did the same thing, it's also a problem. Right? But if it's reheating, you give us, you have something that's fully cooked, that's kosher. Right? You give it to a secular Jew to reheat, not a problem. Totally not a problem. And if the oven isn't kosher and you double wrap it, even if the non-Jew, the non-Jew or the secular Jew put it in, as long as the Jew turned on the oven, that's fine. Or had some, part of the process of cooking. If a non-Jew or secular Jew turned on the oven, you made the food, they turn on the oven, they cook it, that's a problem. According to everybody, it's a problem. Even if it's double wrapped, it's a problem. But if it's only reheating, not a problem. Right? I should have made that clear. It's not a problem. If it's already been cooked. If it hasn't been cooked, that's a different issue. Right? But here, you're just reheating it. It's already been cooked. Right? These things have already been cooked. So that wouldn't be a problem. Yeah, I'll tell people that, if they eat a airline meal, that is, that's kosher, you better careful when you open it, because when you open it, the thing is piping hot, right? Don't put your face near it, that's for sure, right? It's like really, extremely hot, right? But again, that wouldn't be a problem because, it's not, they're just reheating, not cooking it. Someone asked, we had very observant Jews, non-Jews the whole time. That doesn't matter. Even if they're around, that doesn't matter. The problem is who started the fire, right? Was the fire started by a Jew enough to cook? If that was the case, then it's not a problem. If the non-Jew did it from beginning to end, even with the Jew standing around, that's a problem. Unless the oven is lit by a Jew. Right? A pilot light's not good enough. You have to light the oven to a temperature where it's going to get hot enough to cook. Right? But if Jews are just standing around, the non-Jew lit the oven, and the Jew has nothing to do with it, doesn't matter. If they're Orthodox Jews standing around, it's going to be a problem. According to everybody, it'd be a problem. You wouldn't be allowed to eat it. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Saturday, 2:00 Eastern time, 9:00 Israel time. Next week, we're going to hit part 19 because we didn't get that far, as usual. Tomorrow, there's going to be 9:00 Eastern time, 4:00 Israel time, Book of Leviticus, chapter 16, Noahide Nations, 2:30 Eastern time, 9:30 Israel time, be Noahide Laws. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, or Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, or on YouTube, same thing. Or you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Wishing everyone a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, or end of the day, depending where you are. And everyone have a great rest.